Hi, this is JP Smith from Boxing Luton, and we're not going to do an intro this week. We're just going to go straight into the mix, and I'm going to speak to Kay Prosper. Kay is a professional boxer from Luton, and his story goes beyond the ropes in sense of not only has his life changed when he became from moving into boxing to begin with, but he actually works with exactly the type of people we want to identify when we're talking about how boxing saves lives. So let's see where Kay is at, and we get him added to the conversation. Yes, Kay. How am
Hey,
I? I see that T-shirt straight away, buddy.
yeah, man, repping it, repping. You know what I mean? We
You
gotta
know
do
what?
it.
Yeah, again, man. You know what it is? Every time I do this now recently, I forget to tell people to put their camera that way because I have it that way because I end up putting a poster in behind myself here. And I keep
Yeah,
telling them, so everybody normally comes on, and I'm sitting here like this, and everybody's like trying to turn the camera each way and this
yeah.
way and that way, man.
And luckily, I seen like you have a video, so I knew the format.
Oh, you've been watching, have you?
Yeah, yeah, of course, man. I'm always tuning in. The great work you've
Oh,
been doing.
sweet. How are you doing anyway, mate? How's lockdown been for you?
I've been all right, you know. I've not been too bad. I'm fortunate enough to be able to still be doing stuff to keep me active
Yeah,
in the gym and out of the gym. So
yeah.
then a lot of people like haven't been doing much. They've been putting their hair up, but
Mm.
fortunately, I've been keeping my mind occupied.
I think the last time I would have seen UK would have been on probably on March 7th, I think, just before, well, it was just, well, the week before lockdown. We were lucky enough to be able to have our show in Dunstable about 2 weeks
Yeah.
before lockdown. So it was probably the last time I saw you when you retained your
Yeah,
title.
nah, if to be honest, the last time I saw you was doing some good miles down the road, down Summer Park there, and I
Ah,
saw you, and I was like, yes, JP, your credit.
you see, I wasn't sure you saw me because I was going quite fast that day. I ran past
You
you on
know what?
Central
Yeah,
Park
I
Road.
blinked. Though.
I wasn't
Just
sure of
about,
you.
yeah, just about saw you.
I listen since I
Mm,
kind of since I didn't see you properly. I've set up this
mm,
new organization, Boxing Saves,
yeah,
Boxing Saves Lives, basically. And
yes,
the whole idea is, Kay, you know me from being behind the scenes in gyms and that. I know all the
mm,
work that goes on. You know what coaches are doing, what boxers are doing, what young people are doing and training in the gym. And I wanted to
yeah,
kind of create an organization where I could start bringing that out and people start seeing a lot more of that. Beyond the ropes, beyond the ring.
yeah,
And so people start recognizing that.
yeah.
And I thought,
It's a great thing you're doing.
oh, thank you so much, man.
It's a
And you
great
know
thing.
what? I thought
And
you
you
would
look
be
in the whole life
perfect.
as well.
I've got about 3 months of the summer where I'm going to be doing this on behalf of the Police and Crime Commissioner for Bedfordshire. You know,
Yeah,
creating that new thing that or something that young people can, interact with and have a look at during the summer.
yeah,
Because obviously, as we will discuss in a minute,
mm-hmm.
creating this situation where we're trying to keep kids off the streets, aren't we? Do you know what I mean?
It's the best thing. Yeah, keep them off the street and give them something to channel their energies into. And you know, what I mean,
Well,
the more people behind it, the better.
100%. And you know what? Your story, as you know, I know you very well. Your story tunes in perfectly with Boxing Saves Lives, mate. Because
Yeah.
if we start, why don't we just start from the beginning with you? Tell me how you started getting into the boxing and your life before boxing.
Yeah, so myself personally, I started boxing very late. I was a late bloomer into the boxing game. I didn't have my first fight till I was 21.
Yeah,
I didn't get into the gym till I was like start training to fight until I was 20. So yes, I started late as far as in that sense. And before that, I played a lot of football.
yeah,
And I was into sport. Um, but then basically what happened is my cousin Paul Webb, who's obviously from Luton, he come to me and was like, "Oh yeah, we really need to set up something in our community that we can help the young lads that are I mean, 'cause a lot of postcode wars and a lot of violence and people was dying." And so we thought, what can we do to, to bring something to the community? So we set up a boxing club, and this was like 16 years ago. We provided it for the community. We was doing it 3 days a week, for 3-4 days a week. Had to set up the bags in a local community centre, take it down every day, put all the mats down. Like there's a lot of hassle and a lot of work that had to go into it every session. I mean, this wasn't just the boxing. I had to do a lot of things behind the scenes. So then, so at first I didn't even want to be a boxer. I just wanted to help the kids out and to just to provide boxing because I knew it can do good stuff and I knew it's a good sport. And obviously, as I started to do a bit of training myself, and also I just wanted to be able to experience it and say to the kids, like, I know what it's like with the nerves and I know what it's like to make weight. I thought I'd have one fight or one or two fights and just go back to my coaching. But obviously, once you have one and you have that adrenaline, you just get the bug, and it just just snowballed from then.
So before you even started getting into setting up the community gym, which is, you know, as I said, it's still there today, Hawkwell Ring Gym, and it's you know, it's bang in the middle of Hawkwell Ring in Luton. And before you set it up, tell me a bit about how you got to the point where you actually ended up. And tell me about your life before that, because you know it wasn't all about the roses, was it, mate?
Nah, so obviously myself growing up where I was growing up within, there's a lot of delinquency and a lot of crime, a lot of drugs, and obviously not having many role models. Because unfortunately, I didn't have my dad growing up, so I didn't have many role models, to be honest. So I kind of attached myself to the streets and was getting into things that wasn't great, you know what I mean? So obviously, as time went by, I kind of got caught up with police and I got arrested a few times.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know, just wasn't going down the right path, to be honest.
And I think that's, you know, what the stuff me and you've discussed before, and, you know, the thing I wrote about in county lines and all that, this kind of thing now is the kind of thing where we kind of want to create that place where kids don't have to go down that route, because although that's part of your lived experience in your life and you've learned from it, I'm sure you'd agree with me that you would never wish that on any kid, because it doesn't always end the way it's ending for you, does it?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough obviously to find boxing, and I would say that many people that get caught in that lifestyle, it can be it's very glamorized, because obviously it's quick money and loads of people got all the stuff that other people are wishing for, like gums and jewelry and stuff like that. But it's only going to end one way, either in prison or killed by another fellow gang member or someone else from a different area. Yeah. So envy and jealousy always breed hate. So sticking down the straight and narrow is always the best way.
And that's spot on. And we even heard Anthony Joshua speaking at the weekend out against gang culture, you know, and you know, a lot of his message got lost with all the other stuff that was going on. But I was actually really taken aback by that. And, you know, there was a few things that came out in the next few days. I was like, oh, that kind of conflicted with that. But really, you know, even on the face of it, if you hear what he's saying, young people will be influenced about that. When he's saying things like, you know what, you need to step away from it. There's nothing for you. It's over glamorized. You know, there's no, that life is gone. Forget about it. There will be some young people who will listen. Yeah,
and I think that's what we need. We need people who are in position of stature to be spreading the right word. And I think obviously what he said was said a lot of good, but everyone took one maybe bad comment and they spun it into. But really, we should have been highlighting all the positive stuff that he should have been saying. Yeah. And also my story, which a lot of people might not know, is obviously as growing up, there was a lot of I was involved in taking a lot of smoking a lot of cannabis and doing other stupid things. And I was unfortunate enough to have a psychotic episode. So a lot of people know I smoked a lot of cannabis and it affected me bad. So I had to go into rehab, or I had to go into one of these kind of units. And it wasn't for boxing that when I come out of it, obviously luckily my cousin helped me to create the club, and it really channeled my energies and helped me to express myself in a positive way. And it kept me out of that kind of lifestyle. I'd rather be in the gym helping kids than out smoking weed with other people. And so it really saved my life. I could have gone a completely different way.
So, I mean, that's incredible, even just saying that. You know, I often talk about, you know, mental health conditions, and the easier ones that we talk about is the more common ones is, you know, anxiety and depression and stuff like that. But we forget that there's a whole other range of mental health conditions that happen out there. 100%. You know, psychosis, you know, schizophrenia, you know, multiple personality disorders, and all of that stuff that goes with it. By making changes, you know.
But even myself, for a long time, I was always embarrassed to say, like, I went through this moment, but you know, it wasn't something I chose to do or something that I was asking for. But unfortunately, it happened to me. And I think the more people that can understand, like, you know, I mean, these things happen, but you got to get through it, and there's different ways to get through it, counselling and psychiatrists and stuff like that. But also boxing, it really, for me personally, allowed me to be a lot more comfortable with myself and a lot more confident, and to be able to express myself. Because a lot of the time, that's all it comes down to, like full sense of masculinity and just something that I was trying to be something I wasn't. I think in the boxing space, I was able to just flourish, and I think today shows that I've gone down a good path.
100%. Yeah, totally agree. And you know, I often talk to people when I did a little video today where I was recording for somebody. I was talking about how it just creates structure for you. You know, it creates organizes your life for you. You know, even on the simple things, turning up for training, listening to a coach, this kind of somebody talking in your ear, telling you what to do. There were some kids you won't have heard enough of that in recent years. It wasn't for the lack of their mum or dad telling them. It's just they haven't been hearing it. And sometimes in a boxing gym, you know, you don't listen, you can get hurt, or you make yourself look silly. Do you know what I mean? It's good to have that pushes you on.
The push, and also helps you to deal with your emotions. Because when you're in a boxing ring or in a gym, like I said, if someone shouts at you, you need to know how to deal with that. Same with it's a lot of life skills. If your boss is shouting at you at work, or he's telling you off and telling you to do something in maybe a bit aggressive way, you can't turn around and tell him to pee off. I mean, the same thing you can't do with your coach. When someone punches you in the nose in a ring and you really just want to lose it, you want to just kick him in the head, you can't do that. You've got to keep your composure, keep your discipline. So a lot of the things that a lot of these kids that have got a lot of aggression, when they're in a boxing gym, they learn a way to cope. And I think it's something like they can really take going forward. For instance, if they're walking down the street and they see someone who's supposed to be one of their ops or one of their enemies, if they've been in a gym for a year and they know how to deal with their emotions and their aggression, they might probably just turn the other way and just be like, you know what, I'm just going to go home. So there's lots of things that boxing can do to help someone in their life. Great
point. And you know what, I was chatting to Laida Shidofia the other day, and he said, not every fight needs to be fought.
That's
not every fight needs to be fought. Like exactly what you said, Kay. Perfectly. You've described it perfectly.
I appreciate that.
It's kind of that idea that not only you can figure out your emotions, you can understand your weaknesses, but then you can play to your strengths. And, okay, I can lose it a bit early. You know, maybe I'm overthinking things. Maybe I'm just trying to get too far too quick. But boxing can reel you in that respect, can't it? Just say, you know what, just think about it. Think about the people around you. Think about the person you're sparring with. Think about your coach. And, you know, just look at the big picture. Because it's easy for anybody of any age to kind of just get too caught up in their situation and think the whole world revolves around them. And actually, it can be quite good at grounding you.
Yeah, it grounds you and it allows you to, so just channel all your emotions into the right way, I think. And also, myself personally, I was fortunate to have a good family around me, like my brothers and my cousins and stuff, cousins and my other family members. But some people don't have that luxury. So boxing is a very family intertwined unit. We all kind of help each other, even though it's an individual sport, like everyone always says. But when you're in the gym and you train and you go on your runs and everyone's talking about this and that, some people haven't got that. So I think boxing is a good way of creating a family unity and almost someone else to, not to let down, but someone else to, you know, like you don't want to do it, you don't want to do something wrong because you're going to let someone else down in your team. So you need these structures around you.
Yeah, it's funny, when I spoke to Blaine Courtney the other day, he was saying the same thing, that even after boxing, he had these group of people from the gym who would kind of build him up and look out for him and all that if he was on nights out and stuff. He would still have these people who would be kind of kicking around with him, making sure he's okay and that, you know, his kind of comrades in arms, as they say, like.
Yeah, definitely. Like Blaine, someone who's been through my gym, and me and him are like brothers. We can never ever like, I mean, fall apart. We'll always be close. And so, you make a lot of friends and you develop yourself. And I mean, you can also other people, you can help them in their situations, because a lot of times people have been through the same thing. But if you don't communicate and you don't show them maybe the possibilities and ways to get through things, you know what I mean, you never know.
And Kay, when this all started, when you started struggling with your life to begin with and started, you know, getting involved with the police, how young were you when you started going wayward? How young were you to begin with?
I was quite young. I was about 13 years old.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, about 13 years old. I just really wanted to just be the man around town. I really wanted to be. I was never big. I was never the strongest. So I thought I had to do other things to kind of get my respect. So I would just do stupid things like go and rob somewhere or go and do something with a weapon or something. It was just the most stupidest things.
Yeah.
But, you know, at that time, it just felt like that's what I needed to do.
And at that age now, it's like in some extent, when you talk about things like county lines, 13's kind of a little bit old now because kids as young as 11 are getting dragged into that. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? And can you? I
yeah,
mean, sure you can appreciate some of the harm that can come to young people now who get caught up in
yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's really bad, and I think some of the people who are trying to implement different strategies, they need to obviously be aware of how they can really help. And I think something like boxing, because it attracts a lot of I don't know, you call like kids from the streets basically.
Yeah, yeah,
They think, but when they first go in there, they think it's just, oh yeah, I can have a fight. So a lot of the time it's kids from the streets. So these kind of kids that are involved in it. So I think summer boxing is a good place to educate these kids and to put the right message out there how negative it can be.
yeah. And just moving on to that part of it, because your life outside of boxing is
Yeah.
exactly dealing with the kind of kids who we're talking about right now, because you work in a PRU, Pupil Referral Unit.
Yeah, I work in yeah.
So,
In I work at two at the minute. I'm working at one called Active Support, which is in Luton, and I work at another one called Oak Bank, which is in Leighton Buzzard.
yeah,
And my job is, well, my role in there is to kind of address these things and to show them, there's always a different way and how to cope in certain situations, and to just also just make them aware of what's happening, because a lot of times they wouldn't even know, like these older people, they're predators. They're trying to prey on them, and they're trying to use them for their own gains and
yeah.
put them in vulnerable situations. So it's all about a bit of awareness and knowing how to cope with the situations and who to call on if they need help.
And do you think to some extent that some of these young lads don't even know they're getting played? Shall we just put it like that? They don't even know that they're being abused, really, because it is a form of abuse. Let's be honest. You're sending a kid out there to sell drugs. You're a grown up. That's
Yeah,
abuse, no matter what way you look at it.
right, to the nth degree. So I just think, obviously, they're young, impressionable. They want to fit in with certain types of people, certain people in the area. And I think by doing this, they're going to gain some kind of stature. They don't care about them at all. They'll just, if they get arrested, they'll just get another kid off the street to go and do their job. They're not going to be trying to help them out or send them letters in prison or whatever they might be doing, helping their family out. They will never see them again. So they need to understand, like, it's just a road to one way, and it's not a negative place. It's not a positive place. It's a bad way to go.
Yeah, when I mentioned this earlier, I was thinking about how, we already have the situation where kids are between, say, 11 to 15 or 10 to 15 or 16, is when they're trying to find their identity. They're trying to become, what am I all about? Who am I with? I'm too old to be kicking around with my parents. I'm too young to be kicking around with some bigger people and doing something, something that's going to make me feel, really involved. So you've got those kids, and that's conflict among every child. But on top of that, we've got a lot of kids who've got mental health conditions. On top of that, we've got a lot of kids with learning disabilities. Learning disabilities. And it's just like, it's a really tough place for young kids out there. It really is. Nowadays, especially, what cuts back to mental health and that for young children. It's not easy, is it?
Yeah, it's really bad. But obviously, social media plays a big role in some of the negative issues that are out there. Obviously, the images and the opinions of how you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to look. Everyone's trying to live up to an ideology that's not even true. You know what I mean? All these people that put out there, all their pictures have been photoshopped or just been tailor-made to look a certain way, and everyone's trying to live up to this lifestyle of having all this glitz and glamour. And I think they just want it. They want it quick. They want it now, and obviously that's the way that they can obviously fall down into a lot of pitfalls out there.
And everything comes at a price. You can have something even close to what you think you're going for, but it comes at a price. Young kids getting into debt, getting caught up in selling drugs. And, one of my big worries, and this is why I started Boxing Saves Lives right at the beginning of lockdown, was that my worry was what's going to happen to these kids when we can't get them into the boxing gyms where they can get involved and be around people, have their peers around them, have a friendly hand on your shoulder. That's a big concern, isn't it? Once this is all, once it all relaxed the lockdown, these kids are going to be in debt to people. Bad news, isn't it?
Yeah, it's bad. Luckily, we've been able to, keep in contact with our members, and we do like training sessions over online so they can still keep their mental health and they can keep their fitness up. But there's so many kids out there that obviously ain't involved in the boxing, and they're used to just roaming around and maybe dipping in now and then to the gym, and you can still check up with them and just make sure they're right. But a lot of these kids haven't got this support network, and I think after this we're gonna have to do. So a lot of work's gonna have to be done so that we can go back to where we was, and to make sure there's they've got a safe haven, a safe space for them to just to be.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And the thing is I talk about the means, the motives, and the opportunity for all these things. The means, there's loads of vulnerable kids out there. The motive, money. Each county line's taking in about £800,000 a year. That's going to be $1 million soon. And the opportunity, kids are out on the street, or not out, and even kids in their care are out in the street now, and they shouldn't be during lockdown. And the opportunity is there for people to get after them, to get them, to target them, to force them. But the boxing gym can be that. That's where we can come in. We can get them out, take that opportunity away.
Yeah, it can be like a bubble. It can protect them from these vulnerable situations. But I just think, obviously, the government is trying its best, and it does do stuff. But all sports can be good for kids. If they're off the streets. But so I'm not going to say boxing is like I put that above another one. But obviously, boxing is what I'm really passionate about, and I've seen it, and I personally know it can help. So I just think a lot more investment needs to be put into boxing gyms, and awareness in schools, and program and organisations like yourself need to be funded. And I just hope that going forward, they really do look at these kind of things.
Yeah, and thank you for saying, and you and me both, man, because look, we know it works. All we can do is, all we know is we see it working all the time. You see it, even if you weren't a boxer, so if you weren't a professional boxer, you would see what goes on in the gym, because some people just come into the gym and train, but they still get the benefit of it, don't they?
Oh yeah, they're still getting a lot of benefit from it. Just like within themselves, getting fit and their self-esteem, and having somewhere they can mingle and meet different people. And a lot of times, I've seen it. I've had a lot of kids from our Pupil Referral Units that are involved in knife crime, and then I let them come to the gym, or they come to the gym and they get deducted fees, because obviously a lot of times half of them pay with fees, but we really want them in the gym. And I've seen them go from being a kid that's in youth offending to not having to go anymore, because they've actually changed, and they've actually turned it around, and what they want to do is they want to achieve something in the sport. And I think it's almost giving them a goal. When you give them a goal and give them something to aspire to, and they honestly feel they can do it, then it really can have a massive impact.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things I want to organise for some of these young kids, and this is one of the things I'm looking at funding, is I want to create, I missed the bit you said about fees, but I'm looking to create what we call a boxing bursary. So kids who we can identify could get 20 free lessons at a boxing gym. So that takes away the problem where they don't have to, there's not means tested, they don't have to worry about how much they have to pay and having the money every week. They just have to get there, and I can arrange that for them for free. And that could be something, a great incentive. We can get identified the right kids who could, make the most of it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, because obviously a lot of kids that the ones that normally haven't got a good home life, they might have broken homes, and they might only have one parent who's struggling with a lot of kids. And then you're asking the parent to pay £3, £4 a session, whatever it might be, and they can't afford it. So you don't see the kid for 3-4 weeks, and you say to them, "Oh, why wasn't you at the gym?" And they said, "Oh, I couldn't afford it." And you think to yourself, that shouldn't be the reason why you stop coming to something that's so positive in your life. So we do try our best to make arrangements so that these kids can come. But something like that, if you set up this boxing bursary, that would just be a massive impetus to kids that really need help.
Yeah, that's really what I want to work on now, because I'm really glad you actually said that, because that's something I've been thinking about and talking to people over the last few weeks. Something like that, and then it just takes away all of that, Kay, because we don't want children to get lost in the system. Because as you said, they are children who come from homes. They are children who come from, any kid can be targeted, but predominantly it is kids from the poorer communities who really struggle, wouldn't be able to pay for it. Why you can't let them get lost in the system, because you wouldn't want some 13-year-old kid or 11-year-old kid to end up, having to go through the first 5 or 6 years of you had to go through before you got yourself sorted.
Yeah, and I think obviously there's different ways you can go about it. Obviously, raising funds from your own community to see if they want to help out. But I think kind of stops with the government. They've got to help incentives like yourself, because it's all good putting them in prison after they've done the crime or they've already been involved. But why not put money into things that are going to actually stop it from happening, prevention rather than they're looking back prevention rather than cure. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think they really
exactly.
need to educate the kids from a young age and actually highlight the ones that really need help and get to them early. And I think, yeah, a lot can be done and a lot can be changed in a positive way.
Yeah, and you know what? There was a case at the weekend. I read about a young fellow who was stabbed in Birmingham by a gang of youths, and the senior police officer who was involved in it. The 3 youths had been convicted, and apart from obviously him explaining obviously the horrendous thing that happened in this crime and another senseless murder that has happened, although all murder is senseless, of course, but it's a young person, obviously nowadays it obviously takes on that higher thing for us. But you know, one of his comments is, what, you know, this young person, 17, had a knife. What was he doing out there with a knife? Why haven't we been able to get into his community quicker than this? Why are we able to get these people, get into them when they're 8 or 9 and get them away from this? Just like you're saying, Kate, just what we want to do, get away from that so they never have to be in that position.
That's right. And I just think lots of time it's staring people right in the face. Like, these are people that need the help, but they just don't have I don't know why they don't act. And it's like they need the foresight and the energy and the support and the backing and able to make the right decisions, because a lot of the time, like I said, it's so easy to see that this kid needs help, and it's not, and then it's too late by the time that anyone wants to make anything about it or make any change. So we need a lot more energy put into it from early doors.
And so what the children that you deal with in your PRU, without going into any of the details of both of them, what are the common themes you see among the young boys and girls? I presume, do you deal with girls as well in yours?
There's girls in the unit, there is girls in the unit too. Yeah.
What are the common themes you've seen in terms of family background? You know, what are the things that you see among the children?
A lot of times it's like single parents, usually mothers, so dads ain't around. A lot of times they've been forms of abuse or neglect. So then obviously their head's in the wrong place. A lot of times they attach themselves to different kind of gangs, and it's glorified in their own heads. I think that's the way forward. And just a lack of opportunities. A lot of time it's down to lack of opportunities and just a lack of knowledge. So I think if you can just help these kids and tell them right from wrong early, then you're putting a good seed in their head for they can grow into be something positive for the community.
And you think it's do you look at it from the point of view that it's not for the lack of trying from the mums or dads? It's just like sometimes the kids can be wayward, or is it? Of course.
You see some of the parents that I've seen come through the unit, they're heartbroken that their kids gone down the road that they've gone, and they do honestly try their best, and they're the parents that just need help, and they need people to come into their environment and to actually maybe just make some tweaks in the way that they do things. And obviously it's hard as a parent when you're trying your best and someone's coming in and say, oh yeah, you need to stop from coming in so late, or you need to do this and that. You know what I mean? It can be quite I don't know, it's hard to take sometimes, but I think more of actually educating the parents and telling them, you know what I mean, how you can make subtle changes. It could be a positive effect, definitely.
Yeah, and it's tough for them because obviously they're trying to make ends meet, and they've got to be out late working and all that, and they can't be everywhere. And it goes back to that idea. We're talking about that opportunity where we could take that opportunity away from young kids being available. You know, when the mum or dad's are away at work, we could have them in a boxing gym doing a bit of training where they're away, where they can't be targeted, and just take away that, you know, that gap where people can do them harm.
That is right. And I think all these gaps that they have, where they haven't got no parent, they've got time free on their hands. What they're doing, they're not doing positive stuff. They're doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, whether it be out doing crime or out taking drugs, whatever it might be. So if we can actually fill this gap with something positive, like boxing, then can do nothing but benefit the whole society, really.
Oh, brilliant. And you know what, Kay, I love that we're taking exactly the same lines. You know what? It's just I was listening to what you were saying there in terms of young people, and it's perfectly just describes the kind of thing I was thinking about a couple of months ago worries about that. And what you're describing is exactly what I assume to be happening, but it's good to speak to someone like you who's actually seeing it like every day of the week, you know?
Yeah, I see it a lot. And I see like how bad it can be, and how a lot of times they're scared. They try it out that they're the big I am and they can do this and do that. But a lot of times they're scared and they just do it just to almost just to save face. And I think having a young kid in that situation, it's hard for them to make the right decisions and to say no to this or say no to that. They'll be saying, yeah, I'm going to go. Then they're going out of town and they'll be holding packages for people and holding weapons and all sorts of things I'll be hearing these kids, they'll be telling me. And I just think to myself, they have fear to say no because they haven't got no one there to support if they do say no. So they need a lot of support and a lot of help and a lot of guidance, a lot of reassurance that if they do make the right decisions, then they are actually going to be all right.
And I think, like, apart from your own lived experience, where you've kind of been in that life years ago and you see the things go on, imagine there might be some people in your profession looking at it going, they're probably looking like they're thinking they're in a TV show or something with some of the stories they probably hear from these young kids.
Oh, yeah, it's quite open and quite shocking. You think some of these kids, the age that they're actually getting involved in certain things, like obviously 13 is where I kind of got involved in stuff, but there's little kids, like if you look at him, you think you're only 6, but he's like 9 years old and he's telling about how he's done this and he's carrying this. And then obviously we're always trying to guide them as individual and their parents, but there's a lack of support. I think a lack of support.
Yeah. And you know what, Kate, I'm of the opinion that if we can give some of these kids help, I think that, you know, if we can build them up, if we can build up their self-worth through the boxing gym, believing in themselves, understanding weaknesses, you know, pushing through their strengths, I think a lot of kids can be self-policing. I think that, because if you can get a couple of kids who believe better in themselves, they can be the kids who are in the class and go, you know what, man, you need to grow up a little bit. Just don't get involved with that. Nobody wants to see you involved. And they can kind of police each other, can't they?
That's true. You always have certain people who are involved in this kind of situation, or like involved in not say the gangs, but they're just involved in the rows. If you can tap into the ones that maybe the ones that are looked up to, you can get them in the gym and get them doing positive stuff. Next, you know, the rest of them will be following him, because I could say, like, there's a lot of leaders, there's a lot of followers, a lot of hangers on. So like even myself, I was just hanging around with the people that I thought was cool in my area. So therefore, them boys that I thought was cool, till I would go to the boxing gym, I'd be like, all right, yeah, I'm coming. I would just literally just go with them. I just walk down there and hope that I'll be able to train as well. But sometimes it's getting the right people who are actually literally seen as being like the head people. If you're going to tap into them and get them doing the right stuff, then it will have a trickle down effect to all the rest of them. That's what I honestly believe.
That's great. You know, that's good. And I was thinking that I'm probably just, you know, that thing we do, we're all nostalgic about years ago when everything was perfect. It wasn't, like, but I often think that, you know, county lines has been around for years one way or the other. It's been more predominant in recent years. But part of me likes to think that there was a time years ago when somebody yours or my age saw a kid who was about 11 or 12 kicking around in the street and would tell him to go home. Whereas now, they'd be targeted and said, no, you want to, you know, you get involved in a criminal gang or something. You know, maybe I'm just imagining, maybe I'm being nostalgic, but I like to think that years ago we would have given the kid a, you know, proverbially kick up the backside, whereas now they're easy meat.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. Like, I can just remember now. I'm just remembering now, like driving around and seeing certain kids. I mean, what are you doing? Get home. It's too late to be out on the street. But is it happening now? I'm not too sure. I just think the mindset now people is now more so, I just let them do their own thing. If they're going to do that, and then it's up to them. There's not as much community cohesion as probably there was before.
Yeah.
Which is a bad thing.
Yeah, it is a bad thing. And, you know, and another thing with boxing is that, you know, they're in the heart of community. So that is something that's right there. They're part of the community. They've got people who can inspire people. But I think we seriously undersell the work that boxers like yourself do with young people, coaches do with young people, and volunteers in boxing gym. We totally undersell the sport in Luton, in Bedfordshire, and throughout the UK. I think because sometimes boxing has a bad reputation to be violent, but the way I look at it, nothing is more violent than what the streets can be in the UK at the moment. Nothing is. No matter how bad we get, we're not that bad. And that's not a competition. It's just it's like that, isn't it?
Yeah, true, but people do think it's a barbaric sport, and I understand like it is it has that element to it, but I think there's not many institutions that can actually attract or to actually have dialogue or to interact with the kind of people that need help. You know what I mean? These kids, yeah, some of them will go to football, but a lot of them won't. They're not going to be in rugby, not going to be at tennis. What sports are these kids doing? They're doing boxing. So therefore, we have a unique position to really inspire a group of kids that are easily targetable and vulnerable to some negative stuff. So why not
Yeah.
actually invest in it rather than looking at it being a bad thing?
And we people like yourself and your coaches, they're teaching accountability as well. Whereas football,
Yeah.
you know, if there's a bad game, you can complain that guy never passed the ball, he didn't cross him, you can spread the blame. But in boxing, you might have a whinge at your coach sometimes, but really it's you in there. You know, it's you that you got to pick it up for you.
You've got to discipline yourself. You've got to make sure that you're eating the right stuff, because the coach ain't sitting with your 24/7, making sure that you're eating well, you're drinking your fluids, or you're doing your runs. You know, so self accountability is massively important in life. I think you've got to be look at yourself. You can't look for anyone else to get anything for you in life. You've got to put the work in. I think boxing, it teaches that. I mean, the buck stops with you, and you've got to, if you want it enough, you're going to achieve it.
Right. I listen there. Okay, we're just gonna finish this part of it now, and I'm gonna put this out on the James Campbell Collective out on the YouTube channel. So getting people to get to watch this, man, because this is going to be filling the gap for some young people. So we're going to get this out there, so to have a look and just discuss what we've just discussed and understand just how important boxing gyms are and what goods they can do for people. So we're going to finish this part of the interview now, okay? But we're going to move on to, let's have a quick chat about what you've got.